Hi, I'm Thea Massi, and welcome to this episode of Beyond the Ball. I'm here with football and track athlete Will Malcolm. How are you today, Will?
I'm great. How are you?
Great, great. So we're going to talk about your early life experiences with athletics. So when did you start getting into athletics?
When I was born, I started playing basketball. I love basketball. My grandfather played basketball. I played all the time. I casually play it quite often. And then when I moved to China, I got into Star Wars. I love Star Wars, so yeah. I decided let's play fencing. And I did fencing for till about freshman year, I think. And I was ranked top 10, top 20 in my country for my age group.
That's really good.
Yeah, I was really, really good. And then around 7th grade, I found football. And I fell in love with it immediately. I loved it. It was one of my favorite sports. I couldn't stop playing it. And I fell so in love with it, I kind of stopped playing fencing for it. And then I got into sophomore year, and they were like, join track. And I was like, all right, if it's gonna help me with football, why not? Yeah. So I joined track.
So you mentioned that you used to live in China. So can you kind of talk about your moving experiences?
Yeah, so I was born in Jersey, and then when I was about 4 years old, I moved to China. Lived there for 6 years till I was 10, maybe 11. And then to California, which I stayed there for about 3 years, which was probably one of my favorite times. I made so many friends living there. I still talk to some of my friends in Cali to this day. Nice. Back to Jersey, stayed there for about a year or two. And then in late freshman year, I moved to Texas, like spring of freshman year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it must have been like hard making friends at the beginning, especially since you moved so often. So can you kind of talk about how athletics has helped you make friends?
Oh yeah, sports were amazing. Without sports, I wouldn't have as many friends as I do to this day. I mean, all the friends I make and I hang out with are all in sports. From one of my really good friends, Matthew, to even like talking to Ryan Walker in football. I mean, all of us are, I would say, friends. And I think without it, I kind of would have struggled, trying to meet new people and trying to have a more fun time.
Yeah, you're right. So you're in track, and track is mostly like an individual type of sport, but you do participate in relays. So can you kind of talk about the team chemistry you have to have with your other relay legs?
Team chemistry is really important in track. A lot of people kind of forget about that because we'll spend like hours just working on handoffs, which is where we take the baton and we give it to the other person. And when you're in a 4x1 relay, you don't have a lot of time to receive that handoff and to give that handoff. So I'll go out to the track with Braxton every day, and we'll work on the 4x1 handoffs. And to be able to have that trust where I can look straight and just turn my hand around like this when I hear him call stick and receive that in my hand and just close and run, it takes a lot of chemistry. It takes a lot of, you have to know exactly how fast he's going to run. You have to know exactly when he hits my zone. You have to know all that without even thinking about it. And so in my 4x1, when I just hear the stick, grab it and go. And that takes a lot of trust in my teammates.
You're right. And you've been participating in the 4x1 and 4x2 for a while. So, and I know that there was a break between sophomore year and senior year. So can you kind of talk about your injury in between there?
Yeah, so in football, on kickoff in the very beginning of the year, junior year, I made a tackle and I landed on my knee wrong and it popped. And what it was a meniscus tear, partial ACL. So I had to sit out the rest of the football season. I had to sit out pretty much like 3 weeks until COVID happened with track. And it was hard. It was definitely really hard. I was out for 9 months. Oh, wow. And I couldn't walk for 11 weeks. I was on crutches for 11 weeks. It was really, really hard.
Yeah, so can you kind of talk about like what you've learned from your injury? What life lessons you've learned?
I learned a lot about work ethic. I mean, you know, I kind of took it for granted, I feel like, with the way I was, you know, I was really fast and I didn't put it to use. I definitely took a lot of it for granted, and when I got hurt, I realized how important even just walking was.
Yeah.
I missed going to the gym. I missed a lot of things. Literally just recently, our 4x1 runner, Giuliano, landed on his arm wrong and he fractured. He's out for forever. I was heartbroken. You learn so much when you get hurt. You don't realize how big of an impact it has on you.
You're right. And it makes you be more grateful for what you do have. And when you get back, it makes you realize how grateful you should be to be healthy.
Yeah, it taught me a lot about work ethic. It taught me a lot about, you know, I mean, when I got hurt, my leg circumference was, my right leg was 37, my left was like 25 maybe.
Oh, wow.
And you realize, like, oh no, I need to get this back. So you do so much just to try to bring that leg back. It teaches you so much about work ethic and trying to get yourself back.
So you did a lot of like single leg exercises to help with that?
Yeah, I did one leg press. I did Bulgarian split squats all the time. A lot of lunges once I could finally come back. It was really hard.
Yeah, I bet. So I know that you did participate in track and football. So how do you think that those help each other out?
Well, in football, there's a thing called the 40-yard dash.
Yes.
And the 40-yard dash is a really good emphasis on your football speed. So if you look at the college combine, there's a thing called the 40-yard dash, and a lot of people take it very seriously. Track helps you with that so much. I mean, in football, I was one of the fastest guys on the field. And in practice, I would go at receiver and I would run go routes to mimic all the other receivers to try and copy their speed.
Yes.
And it definitely helped a lot for our corners in practice. And, you know, when I would go in, I have to always go against the fastest guy. Speed is probably one of the most important things in football, especially as a receiver. And the correlation, you know, running form, everything. I mean, you have football guys who have to go to track because it will help you with all of that.
Yes. And track and football, or sprinting more so, and football, you really have to focus on like explosiveness, like, and quickness.
Yeah, I mean, getting out of the blocks is the equivalent of when the ball is snapped and receiver has to go. They're the same things. It's all about speed and explosiveness.
So can you kind of talk about your workout plan to work on that?
Yeah, my workout plan is pretty simple. I mean, I hit legs especially during track season, hit legs about 2 to 3 times a week. It involves squat, deadlift. Those are my 2 double leg exercises, and then the rest of it's single leg. I mean, Bulgarian split squats. I do side lunges, front lunges, jump squats, which is where you squat and then jump back up.
Yes.
It's all super important. A lot of it's explosiveness, and then a lot of it is also hamstrings, because when you run, you need to kind of be able to have loose hamstrings so that you can cover more ground, because, you know, I'm only 5'9". I have to cover as much ground as I can.
You're right. So speaking of your height, do you feel like that puts you at a disadvantage?
Totally, especially in the 100. In college, I'm looking to run the 100 and the 60. And a lot of guys who do that are more 6'3". They are a lot bigger. They're able to cover more ground. So for me, I have to kind of make up for that. Being 5'9", I have to be able to pitter-patter more. I have to
work a little bit harder.
Yeah, I have to hit the ground about twice as much as everyone else, if that makes sense. They probably cover, well, I take 2 steps. Everyone else has to take 1. So I have to move my legs faster than everyone else. So that's why I have to kind of have a good work ethic to make up for that.
So speaking of your future and the 160, correct? So what are your goals for that, for college and beyond?
Well, right now I'm talking to a few colleges. Nothing too crazy. My times right now are, I ran 11:27 last week, which isn't that great for my standards. This meet I should be hitting sub 11 and then consistently hitting sub 11. And if I do that, I mean, like I said, all the colleges I've talked to have all been like, they've all liked my 100. They all kind of want me indoor, because indoors they run the 62.
Yeah.
So they all want me running the 60 as well. And that's all I know so far. That's all I've said.
Yeah. Do you know like what you want to major in at all yet?
I'm looking at business as a major, and then minor, I wanted to do something with religion.
Yes.
I'm really big in religion. I'm big in a thing called Young Life, which is a youth group. I run it with my head youth pastor, Michael Hewitt. Both of us are really, really close, and we try to get as many people going as we can.
That's really good. And I heard that you got nominated as the president of the Young Life group.
So I am like kind of the president of Young Life, and a lot of my job is to I don't normally set it up. Michael kind of does all that. I just have to try and get as many people as I can to come. So I always kind of am that annoying little kid, like, hey, you should go. And then eventually they're like, whatever, what's the worst it could be? And then they go, and they don't really stop going. And they're like, this is actually really fun. And I try to encourage as many people as I can to go, because I believe it's something that is really important. I think that, having Jesus in your life is a really big thing.
Yes.
I'm, like I said, like I'm huge in Young Life. I host Bible studies at my house every other Monday with some of my youth pastors, and we try to run it and, have it all going.
That's really good. And honestly, like bringing people is one of the most important parts.
Yeah, for me, I mean, we actually just went over Paul's story, and we talked about how one of Paul's only joys was seeing people bring in Jesus, and that was something we all could kind of relate to, at least me for sure.
Yes.
I mean, whenever I go and I see more people coming, and it kind of brings me joy to see other people have Jesus in their life, and it's awesome. I love it.
Yeah, that's really good. So moving on to a slightly different topic. You've probably impacted people, and you've probably had some people that have impacted you. So who has had a big impact on your life?
That goes to my cousin. His name's Connor Daniels. He'll probably end up watching this. He's my biggest hero. He's a year older than me. He was born with a form of autism, which affects, he has epileptic seizures. I'm not entirely sure. I think it used to be really bad. He just recently got a surgery for it. He's in karate, I believe. He does all of that, and with what he has right now, he's not able to play sports. He's not able to play football. So whenever I play football, and I run track for him.
Yeah.
I try to talk to him as often as I can. Reminding me about it means I need to talk to him again. He's probably my biggest hero. He always has been. Whenever I get down and something happens, I realize like he can't play. I need to play for him. So something I always do is I try my best to play for him. I wish he was able to come down to one of our games. He unfortunately wasn't because of COVID. I want to get him down for a track meet. He is my hero. Like every time I have something going on, I realize like he's in a worse predicament than me, and he's going through with a smile every day, and like I said, he's my hero.
That's really sweet. You've also had a lot of younger athletes that look up to you. I always see younger people at track meets and football games just cheering for you and the team. So what advice would you give younger athletes?
What I would say is, the classic, work hard. It does pay off. Just because you don't see it in your near future, it will pay off. I was incredibly unathletic in middle school. I was not fast. I was not coordinated. I didn't play. I loved basketball. I didn't play basketball up until, you know, I never played in middle school. I rode the bench, and I even I never ran track until sophomore year because I didn't think I was fast enough. Tried out for the baseball team. I got cut in my middle school. Just because you don't see it right now doesn't mean you should stop working. You need to continuously go, because that goal you will achieve. You need to keep going. Just because you can't see it right now, it will happen.
You're right. So yeah, working hard and patience is really important in athletics, especially if you're trying to go somewhere big with it. So I've also heard that you help middle school athletes in their track meets. Can you expand on that?
Yeah, I was actually at the middle school meet the other day. Every time I see a middle school athlete, I think of myself a lot of times. I look at it and I think, they can improve. Like I said, growing up, I always wasn't athletic. So when I work with middle school kids, I like to think that, they can improve. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm stuttering, but it's just one of those things where growing up is always, I never had a great middle school experience, so I want other people to have a really good middle school experience.
So what life lessons have you learned from athletics?
The big one is, work hard. It like I said, it does pay off. There is never a time where when you're working and just because you don't see in the future, it won't pay off. It will always pay off. Work hard. You will find something in the future. Just because, you seem like this is it, and then something happens, you get hurt, and it sends you off, does not mean it won't happen. I mean, like I said, I got hurt. I thought football was for me. I got hurt. I found track. I love track. I'm going to college for track. It will happen to you, but if you just put your head down and not do anything about it and stay down, it won't happen.
Yeah.
Like I said, to everyone out there, I would like to say that work hard, man. It does pay off. Just because you don't see it right now, you will see it in the future.
Those are some really good pointers. Thank you so much for coming on the show, Will.
Yeah, and thank you for having me.
That's all for this episode of Beyond the Ball. I'll see you next time.